Chapter 1: The Unlikely Hero. Timmy the turtle lived in a cozy little burrow in the heart of a lush forest. The trees towered high above him, their branches spreading out like giant green umbrellas. Timmy's family and friends loved their peaceful home, and they were content with their slow, steady pace of life. But not Timmy. Timmy was different. He was small, with a shell that seemed to shimmer with every color of the forest, from deep greens to soft browns. His bright eyes sparkled with curiosity, and he loved listening to the stories the older turtles told about far-off places and grand adventures. Whenever the forest was quiet, he would wander down to the edge of the stream and stare into the distance, dreaming of the world beyond. One day, while listening to his grandfather tell a story about the great ocean, Timmy felt a pang of excitement. "Grandpa," he asked, "have you ever been to the ocean?" His grandfather chuckled. "Oh no, Timmy. That's much too far for a turtle like us. We have everything we need right here in the forest." Timmy nodded, but he couldn't help feeling that there was something more out there, something waiting to be discovered. He watched as his friends played in the grass, chasing butterflies and basking in the sun, and he realized he wanted something different. That evening, as the sun set and the forest turned golden, Timmy heard a whispering wind. It was a gentle breeze, but it carried a message, like a song only he could hear. "Follow your heart," it seemed to say. "Adventure awaits." Timmy knew what he had to do. He would leave the safety of his burrow and explore the world beyond the forest. He didn't know what he would find, but he was ready for the journey. As the stars began to appear in the sky, he made a promise to himself. He would be brave, he would be strong, and he would never turn back. With that promise, Timmy's journey began. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that some turtles were born for adventure, and he was one of them. He looked back at his burrow one last time, then turned toward the forest's edge, ready to find out what lay beyond. Chapter 2: The Whispering Wind. Timmy the turtle stood at the edge of the forest, his heart racing with excitement and a touch of fear. The whispering wind that urged him to follow his dreams was now a gentle breeze rustling through the leaves. The sun cast dappled patterns on the forest floor, creating a path that seemed to lead him deeper into the unknown. As Timmy ventured forward, he noticed how the forest changed. The trees grew taller, and the underbrush became thicker, making it hard for a little turtle to navigate. He took careful steps, always alert for any signs of danger. His shell, his greatest protection, seemed to give him the courage to keep going. The wind whispered again, leading him to a small clearing where he found a group of animals gathered around a large rock. There was Benny the beaver, who was busy building a dam in the nearby stream. There was also Sophie the squirrel, who darted up and down the trees, and Harry the hedgehog, who was busy collecting berries. "What's going on?" Timmy asked, curious about the gathering. Benny paused in his work and looked at Timmy. "We're listening to the wind," he said. "It tells stories of a hidden treasure at the edge of the forest." "Treasure?" Timmy's eyes widened. "What kind of treasure?" Sophie hopped down from a branch and landed beside Timmy. "No one knows for sure," she said, her tail twitching with excitement. "But they say it's something wonderful, something that will change your life forever." Timmy felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly the kind of adventure he had been dreaming of. "Do you know how to get there?" he asked. Harry the hedgehog shrugged. "The wind has been whispering about it for days, but no one has dared to follow its lead. It's a long and dangerous journey." Timmy took a deep breath. He knew it would be risky, but he couldn't resist the call of adventure. "I'll do it," he said, surprising even himself with his boldness. "I'll find the treasure." Benny, Sophie, and Harry exchanged glances, impressed by Timmy's courage. "If you're going, you'll need help," Benny said. "The journey isn't something you can do alone." Timmy nodded, grateful for the support. He didn't want to face the journey alone. "Will you come with me?" he asked, hopeful. Benny smiled and nodded. "Of course, I've always wanted to see the edge of the forest." Sophie and Harry agreed too, eager to be part of the adventure. With his new friends by his side, Timmy felt more confident than ever. The whispering wind seemed to grow stronger, guiding them toward the edge of the forest, where the treasure awaited. Together, they set off, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey had begun, and Timmy couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Chapter 3: The First Obstacle. Timmy, Benny, Sophie, and Harry journeyed deeper into the forest, their excitement growing with every step. The forest's lush greenery enveloped them, and the songs of birds provided a cheerful soundtrack to their adventure. Timmy led the way, his heart full of anticipation, but it wasn't long before they faced their first obstacle, a fast-flowing river that cut through the forest. The river was wide and turbulent, its waters crashing against rocks and creating swirling eddies. Timmy stopped at the riverbank, his eyes scanning for a way to cross. The current was too strong for him to swim across, and the rocks were too slippery to navigate safely. He felt a pang of worry. If they couldn't cross the river, their adventure might end before it even began. Benny the Beaver stepped forward, scratching his head with his little paws. "This river's a tough one," he said. "But I've built plenty of dams in my time. I think we can figure this out." Sophie the Squirrel climbed a nearby tree to get a better view of the river. "There's a fallen tree upstream," she called down, "but it's too far away for us to reach from here." Harry the Hedgehog, always practical, suggested they find a bridge, but Benny shook his head. "The nearest bridge is miles away," he said. "We need to find another way." Timmy thought for a moment, then remembered the raft his grandfather had built to fish in the stream. "Benny, do you think you could build a raft?" he asked. Benny's eyes lit up. "Of course. It won't be easy, but I think I can manage." He gathered some strong branches and twine from the surrounding forest, then got to work building a sturdy raft. The others helped by collecting materials and keeping watch for any dangers lurking in the forest. As Benny built the raft, Timmy noticed a group of curious fish swimming near the riverbank. They were intrigued by the commotion and started to ask questions. "What's going on?" one of them asked. "We're building a raft to cross the river," Timmy explained. The fish offered their help, guiding Benny to the best branches and providing advice on how to navigate the river's currents. With their assistance, Benny's raft took shape quickly. It was strong and wide enough to carry all 4 adventurers safely across the river. When the raft was ready, Benny carefully pushed it into the river. The current grabbed hold of it, but Benny's skilled hands kept it steady. "Hop on," he called to the others. Timmy, Sophie, and Harry climbed aboard, holding on tightly as the raft bobbed on the waves. The river was wild, but Benny's expertise ensured they stayed on course. As they floated down the river, they saw the beauty of the forest from a new perspective. The trees seemed taller, the animals more vibrant, and the adventure more exhilarating. After a thrilling ride, they reached the other side of the river, where the forest stretched out before them. Timmy felt a surge of pride. They had overcome their first obstacle and were one step closer to the treasure. The whispering wind picked up again, urging them onward, and they set off into the forest, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 4: The Enchanted Grove. The forest on the other side of the river felt different. The trees were taller, their trunks wider, and the leaves thicker and more vibrant. As Timmy, Benny, Sophie, and Harry ventured further, they noticed that the light filtering through the canopy seemed to have a golden hue, casting a magical glow over everything. The whispering wind was leading them to a place known as the Enchanted Grove, a mythical part of the forest that few had seen. It was said to be a sanctuary for magical creatures, a place where the ordinary rules of nature didn't always apply. Timmy felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as they walked through the tall grass, unsure of what they would find. As they entered the Enchanted Grove, the sounds of the forest became more vibrant. Birds with feathers that glowed like rainbows flitted from tree to tree, and butterflies with wings as large as dinner plates floated gracefully above them. The forest floor was covered with soft, mossy patches that felt like cushions beneath their feet. "Wow," Benny said, his eyes wide with amazement. "This place is incredible." Sophie the Squirrel darted from one tree to the next, collecting nuts and berries that were unlike anything she'd seen before. "These look delicious," she exclaimed, filling her pouches with treats. Harry the Hedgehog was mesmerized by a group of glowing fireflies that danced in intricate patterns around him. "I've never seen anything like this," he said, watching the fireflies create swirling shapes in the air. Timmy was fascinated by a group of colorful birds that were singing in perfect harmony. Their song seemed to tell a story, and Timmy listened intently, hoping to catch any clues about the hidden treasure. He noticed that the birds were particularly attentive to a large, twisted tree at the center of the grove. As the group approached the tree, they noticed a wooden sign with a cryptic message carved into it. "Speak the secret, and the path will open." Timmy turned to his friends. "What do you think it means?" he asked, puzzled by the riddle. Sophie the squirrel examined the sign closely. "Maybe we need to say something to unlock the path," she suggested. Benny nodded in agreement. "But what could the secret be? We've just arrived here." While they pondered the riddle, a voice spoke from above. "Welcome to the Enchanted Grove," it said. They looked up to see Lucy the parrot, a brilliantly colored bird with feathers of blue, green, and gold. She perched on a branch and watched them with keen eyes. Lucy flew down and landed on Timmy's shell. "I've been expecting you," she said with a smile. "The whispering wind told me you'd be coming." Timmy was surprised but delighted to meet Lucy. "Can you help us solve the riddle?" he asked. Lucy nodded. "The secret is simple," she said. "Speak from your heart. What is it that you seek on this journey?" Timmy thought for a moment, then spoke from his heart. "We seek adventure and the hidden treasure," he said. "We want to discover new places and find something special at the edge of the forest." Lucy nodded approvingly, and as she did, the twisted tree began to move. Its branches shifted and stretched, creating an archway that led to a hidden path. "You've spoken the secret," she said. "The path is now open. Follow it, and you'll find what you're looking for." Timmy and his friends stepped through the archway, feeling a surge of excitement. They had unlocked the path to the next part of their journey, and the Enchanted Grove had shown them that the forest held many secrets. With Lucy as their guide, they continued onward, eager to discover what lay ahead. Chapter 5: The Dark Cavern. Timmy and his friends had just left the Enchanted Grove, feeling a sense of exhilaration after meeting Lucy the parrot and unlocking the path forward. The hidden treasure seemed within reach, but the journey grew more daunting as they ventured into a shadowy part of the forest. The trees grew closer together, and the underbrush was thick with vines and thorns, making it hard to move forward. The whispering wind was silent, and the forest seemed eerily quiet. The group felt a sense of foreboding as they pushed through the dense foliage. It wasn't long before they came upon a massive rock formation with a dark, gaping entrance. It was the entrance to a cavern, and it stretched deep into the earth, its depths swallowed by darkness. "Is this the way?" Sophie the squirrel asked, her voice a little shaky. The cavern looked like something out of a nightmare, with jagged rocks and an ominous stillness that made her fur stand on end. Lucy the parrot perched on Timmy's shell, her wings ruffling. "I'm afraid so," she replied. "The path leads through the cavern. It's the only way to reach the edge of the forest." Timmy felt a mix of fear and determination. He knew that this journey was never going to be easy, and the cavern was just another challenge they had to face. "We need to stick together," he said, trying to sound brave. "If we work as a team, we'll get through it." Benny the beaver, who was always practical, suggested they make torches to light their way through the cavern. Using sticks and a bit of cloth from Lucy's supplies, they fashioned makeshift torches and lit them with a spark from Benny's flintstone. The torches cast a flickering light that barely penetrated the cavern's darkness, but it was enough to guide their steps. As they entered the cavern, the air grew colder, and the echoes of their footsteps reverberated off the walls. The cavern was filled with strange rock formations, some resembling towering pillars, and others looking like twisted vines. Water dripped from the ceiling, creating small pools on the cavern floor. The path through the cavern was treacherous, with sharp rocks and uneven ground. Timmy led the way, testing each step to ensure it was safe. The others followed closely, holding onto each other's shells or tails to stay connected. It was slow going, and every sound seemed to carry a sense of danger. Halfway through the cavern, they encountered a deep chasm that stretched across the path. It was too wide to jump, and there was no bridge in sight. Benny examined the chasm, his keen eyes searching for a solution. "We need to find a way to cross," he said, his voice echoing in the cavern's vastness. Rusty the raccoon, who was always resourceful, suggested they use a fallen stalactite as a bridge. He found a large stalactite that had broken off and carefully rolled it into position across the chasm. It wasn't the sturdiest bridge, but it was their only option. One by one, they crossed the chasm, balancing carefully on the makeshift bridge. Timmy was the first to cross, his small size allowing him to move quickly. The others followed, holding their torches high to maintain their balance. It was a tense moment, but they all made it to the other side without incident. As they continued through the cavern, the flickering torchlight revealed ancient carvings on the walls. They depicted scenes from long ago, stories of mythical creatures and legendary journeys. Lucy, who had a keen eye for detail, studied the carvings and noticed that they seemed to tell a story of a great treasure hidden at the edge of the forest. "These carvings are a clue," she said, pointing to the symbols on the wall. "They tell the story of a treasure hidden long ago, guarded by the creatures of the forest." Timmy felt a surge of excitement. The carvings were a sign that they were on the right path. With renewed determination, they pressed on through the cavern, their torches guiding them toward the exit. The journey through the dark cavern was perilous, but they knew they had each other to rely on. Finally, they reached the end of the cavern, where a sliver of light peeked through a narrow opening. They had made it through the darkness, and the forest awaited them on the other side. As they stepped into the light, they felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing they had faced their fears and come out stronger. The journey wasn't over, but the dark cavern had taught them an important lesson, that courage and teamwork could overcome even the most daunting challenges. With the light of day guiding them, they continued on their adventure, ready to face whatever came next. Chapter 6: The Mystical Creature. Timmy and his friends followed the path that led them out of the dark cavern into a sunlit clearing. The transition from darkness to light was so sudden that it took them a moment to adjust. The forest on this side was different, brighter, with trees spaced further apart and colorful wildflowers blanketing the ground. Birds chirped overhead, and a gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of blossoms. As they walked through the clearing, they noticed a shimmering pool of water at its center. The water was so clear that they could see the pebbles on the bottom, and small fish darted about in playful patterns. Surrounding the pool were vibrant ferns and tall, graceful reeds, creating a serene atmosphere. But there was something else. At the far end of the clearing, a massive shape loomed in the shadows. It was a mystical creature, larger than any animal Timmy had ever seen. The creature's body was covered in shimmering scales that reflected the sunlight in dazzling hues. Its tail was long and powerful, and its eyes glowed with a gentle yet commanding light. The group froze, unsure of how to approach the creature. It was intimidating, but there was something about its presence that felt peaceful. Lucy the parrot flew ahead to get a closer look. "Hello?" she called, her voice echoing through the clearing. The creature raised its head and looked at them with curious eyes. "Who goes there?" it asked in a deep, resonant voice. Its words were calm, but the sound made the trees tremble. Timmy stepped forward, determined to show respect. "My name is Timmy, and these are my friends, Benny, Sophie, Harry, and Lucy. We're on an adventure, seeking the hidden treasure at the edge of the forest. We mean no harm." The creature studied them for a moment, then spoke again. "I am Greta, the guardian of the forest. This clearing is my home, and I protect all who dwell here. You are welcome, but you must prove yourselves worthy of passing through." Timmy nodded, understanding the challenge. "What must we do to prove ourselves?" he asked, his voice steady. Greta pointed her massive tail toward the pool of water. "Within this pool lies the Heartstone, a gem of great beauty and power. To prove your worth, you must retrieve it without disturbing the balance of the pool or harming its inhabitants. Only then will I allow you to continue on your journey." The group exchanged nervous glances. The task sounded simple, but they knew it wouldn't be easy. The pool was full of delicate life, and any disruption could cause harm. Timmy stepped forward, determined to lead the way. "We'll do our best," he said. Benny, being a skilled builder, suggested they use a simple tool to retrieve the Heartstone. He crafted a small net using twine and branches, ensuring it was gentle enough not to disturb the water. Sophie and Harry gathered additional materials, while Lucy kept an eye on Greta, ensuring the guardian remained calm. With the net ready, Timmy carefully lowered it into the pool, aiming for a smooth approach. The fish swam around it, curious but undisturbed. Timmy guided the net toward the heartstone, a glowing gem nestled among the pebbles. His hands were steady as he scooped it up, lifting it from the water without causing a ripple. Greta watched intently, her eyes focused on Timmy's every move. When the heartstone emerged from the water, she nodded with approval. "You have proven yourselves worthy," she said. "You may continue on your journey." Timmy handed the heartstone to Greta as a sign of respect, and she accepted it with a gentle nod. The guardian's approval meant they could continue their adventure. As they left the clearing, Greta's voice echoed behind them, offering a final word of advice. "Remember, the journey is not just about finding the treasure. It is about discovering your own courage and the bonds of friendship." Timmy and his friends took those words to heart as they moved forward, eager to see what lay ahead. They knew that with each challenge, they grew stronger and closer as a team. The path led them deeper into the forest, toward new adventures and the promise of the hidden treasure. Chapter 7. The Tricky Traps. After leaving the mystical creature's clearing, Timmy and his friends felt a renewed sense of purpose. Greta's advice about the journey being more than just finding the treasure echoed in their minds, encouraging them to face the upcoming challenges with courage and friendship. The forest grew denser as they walked, with tangled vines and overgrown bushes making progress slow. The whispering wind was back, but its message was less clear, more like a distant murmur guiding them through the trees. As they followed the winding path, they encountered a new obstacle, a series of tricky traps laid out in the forest. The traps ranged from simple to elaborate. There were pits covered with leaves, snares made of woven branches, and even tripwires strung across the path. It was clear that someone had set these traps to catch unwary travelers, and Timmy's group needed to be careful not to fall into them. The first trap they encountered was a cleverly concealed pit. Timmy almost stepped into it, but Benny, with his keen beaver eyes, noticed the leaves weren't quite right. "Hold on," he said, stopping Timmy just in time. Benny carefully removed the leaves to reveal a deep pit, its sides lined with sharp rocks. "That could have been dangerous," he remarked. Sophie, the nimblest of the group, took the lead, using her agility to spot and avoid the traps. She climbed trees and swung from branches to guide the others safely through the forest. "Watch out for that branch," she called down, pointing to a snare hidden among the foliage. "If you step on it, it'll spring a trap." Lucy the parrot flew overhead, keeping an eye on the path ahead. She spotted several tripwires and warned the others to step over them. "This place is full of traps," she said, her feathers ruffled with concern. "We need to stay alert." As they carefully navigated the traps, they heard rustling in the bushes ahead. It sounded like someone or something was watching them. Timmy's heart raced, wondering who could be responsible for the traps. Suddenly, a raccoon emerged from the bushes, grinning mischievously. "Hello there," said the raccoon, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Welcome to my little obstacle course. I'm Rusty, the master of tricks and traps." Timmy and his friends were cautious, not sure whether to trust Rusty. "Why did you set all these traps?" Timmy asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Rusty shrugged, his bushy tail swishing playfully. "Oh, just to keep things interesting. I like to see how clever travelers are. Besides, it's a good way to protect my stash of shiny things." He pointed to a small pile of trinkets hidden among the bushes, an assortment of shiny objects he'd collected. Timmy realized they needed Rusty's help to get through the forest without triggering more traps. "We don't mean any harm," he said, choosing his words carefully. "We're on a journey to find the hidden treasure at the edge of the forest. Would you like to join us?" Rusty considered the offer, his eyes narrowing with interest. "Treasure, you say? That sounds intriguing. I could use a little adventure." He grinned broadly. "All right, I'll join you, but only if you can solve my riddle." The group exchanged curious glances. A riddle? This was a new challenge, but they were up for it. "What's the riddle?" Sophie asked, eager to prove her cleverness. Rusty cleared his throat and recited the riddle with a playful flourish. "I have keys, but no locks. I have space, but no room. I can enter, but not leave. What am I?" The group pondered the riddle, each offering different guesses. Benny suggested a piano, Sophie thought of a map, and Lucy mentioned a computer keyboard. But it was Timmy who figured it out. "It's a keyboard," he said, his eyes lighting up with understanding. Rusty clapped his hands with glee. "That's correct. A keyboard it is." He seemed genuinely impressed. "Well, you've passed my test. I'll join you on your journey and help you avoid the rest of the traps." With Rusty as their guide, the group made their way through the forest with greater ease. The tricky traps were no longer a concern, and they could focus on the road ahead. Rusty proved to be a valuable addition to the team, sharing his knowledge of the forest and his knack for spotting hidden dangers. As they continued their journey, they grew closer as a team, knowing they had the courage, friendship, and cleverness to overcome any obstacle. And with Rusty's riddle solved, the path to the hidden treasure felt clearer than ever before. Chapter 8: The Hidden Clue. With Rusty the raccoon now part of their team, Timmy and his friends continued their journey through the forest, growing more confident with each step. Rusty proved to be a clever and resourceful companion, helping them navigate the tricky traps and sharing stories about his many adventures. The group's camaraderie grew stronger, and they knew they could rely on each other as they ventured into the more mysterious parts of the forest. The path led them to a beautiful meadow filled with vibrant wildflowers and tall grasses. The meadow was peaceful, with butterflies fluttering about and bees busily collecting nectar. In the center of the meadow stood a large, ancient tree with gnarled branches that stretched high into the sky. Its roots spread out widely, creating a network of twisting tunnels beneath the ground. As the group approached the tree, they noticed a strange pattern etched into its bark. It looked like a series of symbols and shapes, almost like a map. Rusty squinted at the pattern, tilting his head in curiosity. "This looks interesting," he said, tracing the symbols with his paw. "I think it's a clue." Timmy examined the pattern closely, trying to make sense of it. The symbols were intricate, forming a spiral that led to a central point. Each symbol seemed to represent something different: trees, rivers, mountains, and other elements of the forest. At the center of the spiral was a larger symbol that resembled a star. Sophie the squirrel climbed up the tree to get a better view of the pattern. "It's definitely a map," she said, her tail twitching with excitement. "But what does it lead to?" Lucy the parrot, with her sharp eyes, noticed a small hole in the tree's trunk. "Look, there's something inside," she said, fluttering down to investigate. She reached into the hole and pulled out a small, folded piece of parchment. The parchment was old and weathered, but the ink was still legible. The group gathered around as Lucy unfolded the parchment. It contained a riddle that seemed to point toward the hidden treasure. "In the heart of the forest, where the waters meet, find the ancient stone beneath your feet. Follow the river past the willow tree, the hidden treasure you will see." Timmy read the riddle aloud, feeling a surge of excitement. This was the clue they had been seeking, the key to finding the hidden treasure. "We need to find where the waters meet," he said, looking at his friends. "That must be where the ancient stone is." Benny the beaver, who knew a lot about rivers, nodded in agreement. "There's a spot in the forest where two rivers merge into one. It's a beautiful place, but it's also a bit tricky to get to. We'll have to be careful." Rusty, always eager for adventure, grinned broadly. "Sounds like the perfect place for a hidden treasure," he said. "Let's go find it." The group set off, following the clues from the parchment and the map etched into the tree. The journey took them through dense forests, over rocky terrain, and across babbling streams. Along the way, they encountered various wildlife and natural wonders, each more beautiful than the last. As they approached the area where the rivers met, the forest became more lush and vibrant. The sound of rushing water grew louder, filling the air with a soothing melody. The whispering wind guided them toward a large willow tree that stood at the edge of the riverbank, its long branches sweeping the ground like a curtain. Timmy felt a sense of anticipation as they reached the willow tree. The riddle's instructions had led them to this spot, and they were one step closer to finding the hidden treasure. The group gathered beneath the tree, listening to the river's gentle flow, knowing that their greatest challenge and the treasure they sought lay just ahead. Chapter 9: The Final Challenge. Timmy and his friends stood beneath the grand willow tree, its long branches swaying gently in the breeze. The river, where two streams converged into one, flowed peacefully beside them, its waters sparkling in the dappled sunlight. This was the place where the riddle had led them, and they felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The hidden treasure was somewhere nearby, but where? The clue mentioned an ancient stone, so they began to search around the willow tree and along the riverbank, looking for any signs of something unusual. The river was serene, but its banks were thick with vegetation and roots, making it difficult to spot anything out of the ordinary. Lucy the parrot flew overhead, her keen eyes scanning the area. "I don't see anything from up here," she said, circling above the willow tree. "But there's something about this tree. It feels like it has secrets." Sophie the squirrel climbed the willow's branches, exploring the upper reaches of the tree. She found a few nests and even a tiny birdhouse, but nothing that seemed connected to the hidden treasure. "It's beautiful up here," she said, peering down through the branches, but no sign of the stone. Benny the beaver and Rusty the raccoon worked together to explore the riverbank. They used sticks to poke around in the soil, searching for anything unusual. Benny found a few interesting rocks, but nothing that resembled the ancient stone from the riddle. Timmy felt a pang of uncertainty. What if they had misunderstood the riddle? What if the hidden treasure wasn't here at all? He didn't want to let his friends down, especially after all they'd been through together. Harry the hedgehog, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Maybe we need to look deeper," he suggested. "The clue said beneath your feet. Maybe there's something underground." Timmy nodded, feeling a spark of hope. "Let's dig around the base of the willow tree," he said. "Maybe there's something hidden beneath the roots." Benny, who was skilled with tools, used a sturdy stick to dig into the soft soil around the tree. The others joined in, carefully removing earth and debris from the area. They worked together, taking care not to damage the tree's roots or disturb the surrounding environment. After a few minutes of digging, Benny's stick hit something solid. It was a large stone, partially buried in the ground. The stone was engraved with intricate symbols, similar to those on the map they had found earlier. This had to be the ancient stone mentioned in the riddle. "Look at this!" Benny exclaimed, brushing away dirt to reveal more of the stone's carvings. "It's got the same symbols as the map." The group gathered around the stone, examining its surface. The carvings depicted scenes from the forest, trees, animals, and flowing rivers. At the center of the stone was a large star, similar to the one on the map. Lucy, who was great at solving puzzles, noticed that some of the carvings seemed to form a pattern. "I think this stone is the final clue," she said, tracing the lines with her beak. "If we can figure out the pattern, it might lead us to the hidden treasure." The group worked together, studying the carvings and trying to decipher their meaning. They noticed that some symbols seemed to align with the direction of the river's flow, while others pointed toward the willow tree. It was like a puzzle, and each of them contributed their ideas to piece it together. After some time, Timmy noticed that one of the carvings resembled the river's course. He followed it with his finger and realized it pointed toward a specific spot on the riverbank. "I think we need to follow this direction," he said, pointing toward the river. "It seems to lead to something important." With a sense of purpose, the group moved to the spot where the stone's pattern had indicated. The riverbank was thick with reeds, but as they parted the vegetation, they discovered a small stone archway hidden among the plants. The archway led into a narrow passage, carved into the side of the riverbank. Timmy felt a surge of excitement. This was it, the final challenge that stood between them and the hidden treasure. The passage was dark, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. With courage in their hearts and friendship binding them together, they stepped through the archway, eager to find out what awaited them on the other side. Chapter 10. The True Treasure. Timmy and his friends stepped into the narrow passage hidden beneath the stone archway, their hearts pounding with excitement. The passage led into a small underground chamber, dimly lit by rays of sunlight filtering through cracks in the ceiling. The chamber had a mystical quality, with walls covered in ancient carvings and the soft sound of flowing water echoing throughout. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, upon which rested a large chest, its metal bands weathered but still sturdy. This was it, the hidden treasure they had been seeking. Timmy felt a surge of triumph, knowing they had come so far and overcome so many challenges to reach this point. As they approached the chest, Benny the Beaver examined it closely. "It looks old, but it's still locked," he said, noticing a large metal padlock securing the chest. "We'll need to find the key to open it." Rusty the raccoon, always one to find hidden things, searched the chamber for any sign of the key. He found it tucked into a niche in the wall, hanging from a rusty chain. "Here it is," he said, triumphantly holding up the key. Timmy took the key and carefully inserted it into the padlock. With a satisfying click, the lock opened, and he lifted the chest's lid. As the lid swung open, a brilliant light filled the chamber, casting vibrant colors across the walls. The light revealed the contents of the chest, an ancient map, beautifully illustrated, and a collection of gemstones that sparkled in the sunlight. The gemstones were stunning, sapphires, emeralds, rubies, and more. But it was the map that caught Timmy's attention. It depicted the entire forest and beyond, showing places they had never seen before and routes to distant lands. It was a map of new adventures, a promise of endless exploration. "This is amazing," Lucy the parrot said, admiring the map. "It shows places we never even knew existed." Benny nodded in agreement. "This isn't just a map of the forest, it's a map of the whole world," he exclaimed, tracing the intricate lines with his paw. Sophie the squirrel marveled at the gemstones, but she knew the real treasure was the journey they had taken together. "We've come so far," she said, her eyes reflecting the colors of the gems, "and we've made so many wonderful friends along the way." Timmy felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that the hidden treasure wasn't just the chest's contents. It was the bonds of friendship they had formed during their journey. The challenges they faced, the riddles they solved, and the obstacles they overcame had brought them closer together, forging a team that could take on anything. "We should share this map with others," Timmy suggested. "There are so many places to explore, and we can help others find their own adventures." The group agreed, knowing that the true treasure was the spirit of exploration and the friendships that made it possible. As they left the chamber and returned to the forest, they carried the map with them, ready to share it with their families and friends. The whispering wind seemed to carry a sense of joy, guiding them toward new horizons and the promise of more adventures. Timmy looked around at his friends, Benny, Sophie, Harry, Lucy, and Rusty, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had started as a small group of unlikely adventurers, but they had become something much greater. They had become a family. As they walked through the forest, they shared stories of their journey, laughed at the memories, and planned their next adventure. The treasure they had found was more than they had ever imagined, and they knew that as long as they had each other, there would always be more adventures waiting to be discovered.